Welcome to the video! Hello! My name is Sky, also known as Attack Rack on Twitch, and this is the first time I'm trying anything like this, so please bear with me. But I wanted to talk about Pokemon Arceus. Yes, I say Arceus. I know, a lot of folks say Arceus. It's okay if we say them differently. So before I get into the video, what I want to say is, please understand that my critiques are in no way meant to damper anyone's enjoyment of this game at all. I think it's important to just kind of like think critically and talk critically about the content that we consume as gamers, as, you know, consumers, and I think Pokemon is something that we should absolutely critique. Oh, and one more thing, before I get into the review and kind of the content of the game, I will say, I am about 9 hours or so, let me check actually, I am 9 hours into the game, a little bit over 9 hours. In this video, you're gonna see footage of the first 2 areas in the main town, and you're also going to see the first 2 mounts that you get in the game, which to my knowledge are 2 of 3, and the trailer spoiled the flying one, so I don't think it's too big of a deal. But if this does matter to you, you know, feel free to listen. I won't talk about any story spoilers or anything like that, so I won't go into that. I'm really going to be focusing on gameplay and the look and the feel of the game, the gameplay loop, and the reward system. So the first thing I want to talk about in the game is the actual gameplay sort of critiques that I have myself. Every time I hear a critique, it's always about the graphics, and yeah, graphics, they need to be talked about. But one of the things I want to talk about are some of the quality of life changes. So in Pokemon Arceus, there are a lot of quote-unquote quality of life changes that allow the player to, you know, kind of quickly progress the game without having to manage things like going back to the PC box or going to the name raider or going to the move relearner, the move tutor. You can change your Pokemon's moves at any time. You can change their nickname at any time. There's no consequence for doing so. And at first I really liked these changes, but as I played, I more and more realized that these changes sort of take away some of the meaningful decisions that you make in Pokemon games, and sort of, for me at least, they lessen the bonds that I made with my Pokemon. I know that sounds really stupid, but that's how I felt. When you can switch out your Pokemon's moves at any time, what moves they know at any given moment are less important, because those moves can just change. It's more like the moves are equipment that you can swap in and out at any moment within actual things that your Pokemon have to learn, like moves that they have to learn and unlearn over time. So I'm talking to my friend, and you know, he was saying, I like that these changes are added because I feel like the game respects my time. And I sort of I'm interested to hear that critique, because I feel like almost the opposite, because I feel like this game doesn't really respect my time, in that the game is not providing rewarding experiences. I sort of feel that I'm going through the world so quickly, like I'm collecting stuff, I'm throwing Pokeballs, I'm moving so fast, I'm collecting so many things. I'm hardly taking any time to really like develop my bond with my Pokemon. The memories that you make along the way in a Pokemon, you know, the kind of journey and the trials you overcome, it doesn't really feel like that. It just sort of feels like I'm just kind of cruising, you know, I'm just sort of cruising, I'm chucking balls left and right. The experience is a little mindless almost in that sense, and that's not necessarily like always a bad thing. It's a really chill game. You sit down, you go through stuff, and you don't have to think, and you can just kind of like cruise through it, and you don't have to make a lot of really have to make a lot of decisions, which isn't, like I said, it's not a bad thing, but it is what it is, you know? I think that if they're going for like a chill Breath of the Wild sort of game, it would have been really nice to have a more visually engaging world. So this is where I want to talk about the gameplay loop a little bit. The gameplay loop is focused on checking boxes, basically, tallying tasks. And this is in and of itself like not a bad thing. I mean, a lot of MMORPGs do this. I mean, quests, you know what I mean, like kill 30 Quillbores, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But I can't help but feel that sometimes like these sort of research tasks feel kind of like busy work, like chore work. For example, right here we got Paris, you know, number caught. You don't just catch one Paris to fill out his Pokédex. You have to catch 15 Parises to complete all of those check marks. But you gotta catch 15 period, you gotta catch 7 large ones. You have to defeat 40, you know, to check that box off. And so I feel like all of these sort of tally boxes seem like it is artificially inflating the gameplay time of the game. That's kind of how I feel. because there's way less Pokemon in this game than there are in previous Pokemon games. This might be an unpopular opinion, and this might be just my opinion, and if you feel differently, that's totally okay, but for me, like, seeing Luxio use Thunderfang 40 times is just kind of, that's not like a satisfying accomplishment. It's kind of like, it feels a little bit like busy work, you know? It feels a little bit like I'm doing in the gameplay loop of almost like WoW daily quests, which got really frustrating for me as I was playing, you know, one of the reasons why I stopped playing WoW. Some of the things that I like about the game, I like the outfits. The outfits are real cute, you know? They kind of brought back the outfit thing of sword shield, and that's real heckin' nice. I like unlocking different outfits. That is one of the few, like, rewards in the game that you kind of get as you level up your rank that I actually find rewarding. I think for me, part of the reason why the gameplay loop itself falls a little bit short is that the game doesn't feel rewarding in and of itself. The game basically rewards you with a new area and new chores to do, basically, more new quests. Anyway, so I do want to talk about what the heck is this game? Like, what is this genre? It feels like a team of executives got together and drew up on a chalkboard, like, or on a whiteboard or whatever, a list of buzzwords. Open worlds, crafting, quests, completing, checking off boxes, you know, like, I don't know, like, for some reason we love these kind of games. The game has been marketed sort of to us as a Breath of the Wild Pokemon. Like, Breath of the Wild, Monster Hunter. A lot of people have been comparing it to Dark Souls because there's dodge rolling, and they're like, oh, it's really difficult. I've gotten knocked out by Pokemon. I've been bodied like so many times for the first time, and, like, you know, since I've been playing Pokemon since I was a kid, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know, I kind of want to check that out. And after playing it for 9 hours, I don't really think it's can be compared to any of those games. I don't think you can compare this game to Dark Souls at all. Just because it has dodge rolling just doesn't mean it's a Souls-like or anywhere close to a Souls-like. I don't think it's fair to compare it to Breath of the Wild either. I mean, it definitely took inspiration from Breath of the Wild, and Nintendo and Game Freak know that. The worlds are very vast. The game has a minimalistic approach when it comes to sound design and music, which is not a problem at all. I mean, I think that's fine, but when you have a game like Breath of the Wild, the visuals are just breathtaking. I mean, they're gorgeous. The environment itself is part of the reward structure for exploring the game, and in Arceus, unfortunately, this is not, it's not rewarding to explore. Unfortunately, the world itself is just very muted. The colors are bland and grayed out and toned down. The skybox is just, I don't know, everything's weirdly either looking like Play-Doh or crunchy. And I know that sounds really bad, and please, I'm not trying to upset anyone when I say this, but I think it's, like, important to be said, you know? I think it's important to be said. But the thing is, it's not about polygon count, it's not about the Switch limitations or anything like that. I think when it comes down to the graphics and the way the game looks, it comes down to lack of artistic direction. This game looks and feels very lacking in artistic, like, soul, heart and soul. The sound elements, the sound effects all sort of seem to be Breath of the Wild sort of sounds whenever you pick an item and it makes that little kind of satisfying noise. It's very much so, like, really trying to market itself towards Nintendo fans who really love Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was a masterpiece game. It was just an incredible experience, and so many other games have tried to, you know, create Breath of the Wild-like entries in their series, and this is sort of Pokemon's attempt at that, I guess. So when I talk about artistic direction, what really I think about is a game like Spyro the Dragon for the PlayStation 1. Spyro the Dragon is just old as heck. It's an old PS1 game. They didn't have a lot to work with on the PlayStation 1, so they had to work with what they had, and what they had was not a lot, and what they did was absolutely, in my opinion, a masterpiece. I mean, when you look at the skyboxes in Spyro the Dragon, when you look at the worlds and the creatures, it all is just so gorgeous. It's so beautiful. It's like you're in a painting. And this is a game that was made in the 90s. I mean, you don't need to have a powerful system to make a game look and feel alive and beautiful. And I think that feeling of alive is what Pokemon Arceus lacks, unfortunately. It doesn't feel alive. And this is just kind of maybe a weird opinion. And like I said, if you feel differently, like, I'm totally cool. Like, I'm not trying to upset anyone, but I hear a lot of people say, like, the game feels alive. It feels like you're really in a Pokemon world. You know, I'm looking at all the Pokemon. To me, whenever I play this game, it looks like a couple of trees here and there, you know, boom, boom, boom. A couple of Pokemon just kind of plop down in the world. Sort of almost random patches of grasses and random placement of rocks that are very inconsequential to your experience as a player. It sort of feels just like it really just needs a lot more life. It almost feels like a randomly generated world, but it's not randomly generated. I don't think that the world can be compared to something like the world in Breath of the Wild. I want to talk about comparing this game a little bit to Sword Shield. Let's go into that really quickly. So, after I was playing a bit of this game, I decided to go ahead and fire up Sword Shield. So I thought, alright, let's fire up Sword Shield. I want to see how I feel about it now. I haven't played it for a while. And as soon as I loaded in to Sword Shield, I was hanging out on the DLC area here, and I was in the wild area, and the first thing I noticed is, wow, everything is just so colorful. Everything is so colorful. You have this beautiful clouds rolling in. The sky is actually like really pretty to look at, and like the movement feels sharp and on point, and it doesn't feel like clunky and weird or anything. And I got my little Pokemon next to me, and look, she's following me. That's so exciting. She's curious, she's looking around, she's emoting. Right away, I just kind of felt like I want to be in this world. This is the world that I want more of. This is the wild area that I want to explore more of. After jumping back into Sword Shield and just kind of cruising around the wild area, the first thing that I notice is that Arceus, it really feels like the wild area in Sword Shield. It really feels like that's what it is. It feels like you're exploring the wild area in Sword Shield. And I don't know why the colors are so much more muted in Arceus, even in the stormy areas and the wild areas in Sword Shield, which it does feel a little bit muted, but it feels already just kind of a lot more visually appealing to explore and a lot more intentional in the placement of things than the world did in Arceus. I mean, you still have these kind of funky trees. You still gotta have this funky texture, but you have these really nice weather effects coming in. I mean, you got, you know, areas that feel meaningful when you're exploring them. I don't know. And you know what I also want to talk about here as I switch to this battle? I want to talk about what is up with the battle system in Arceus. It feels weird to me in Arceus whenever you go into a battle and your camera is just the same third-person camera and your character is running around, and sometimes this causes you to not really have a good view of the Pokemon you're fighting. Whereas in Sword Shield, when you switch into a battle, it's like, boom, the focus is there on the battle. Like, you are getting a really good view of the models of the Pokemon. Anyway, you're getting like a full experience of like a Pokemon battle. Like, this is the focus on it. And in Arceus, when you go into the turn-based battle, it's almost like as soon as I enter the turn-based battle in Arceus, I want to get out of it. I don't want to be in it. And I almost feel like maybe the game would be better if it didn't have turn-based stuff in it at all, you know? If it was all like action-based and they really worked on that, and maybe working within the limitations of the Sword Shield engine, if it is made in that engine, maybe that's part of it, is game engine limitations, I'm not sure, but it just sort of feels like it really takes away from what they're trying to do in Arceus. And a couple other things they took out of Arceus that I think are really fun and rewarding are Pokemon breeding. IVs are gone, EVs are replaced with some other system, which is, I'm not exactly sure if I understand it completely, but all these sort of things that make the RPG elements of Pokemon engaging and fun and deep are kind of stripped away in Arceus. But I don't feel that anything really meaningful has really come in to replace them, and that's like the unfortunate thing that I feel about Arceus is like, yeah, you have dodge rolling now, you have like full, you know, you can move around and battle your character, but it doesn't really feel super meaningful. Yeah, there is a satisfying element to like checking off boxes on a list. There's a satisfying element to moving through and completing the Pokedex, but as I was playing it, I sort of just felt like I was missing the depth that older Pokemon games gave me in their battle system, and I was missing the feeling of exploration and wonder in Breath of the Wild that I was just absolutely not, it wasn't really taking any of those wants for me as a player. I sort of feel like Arceus is like almost, and I hate to say this word, and I you know, I know that some of y'all are gonna be like frustrated with me when I say this, but I feel like it was a little bit shallow and a little bit missed the mark in the delivery, I think. And as I'm a little bit critical of the game, I want to talk about the idea of criticism in general in gaming, and I want to talk about the idea of criticizing a big game release. So like a lot of times, and I notice this especially with Pokemon, a new Pokemon game comes out. And, you know, people love it. When a game is initially released, there is such hype around it and there's such excitement that, you know, people are buying it, you're seeing people playing it, it's so exciting. If you're a streamer, there's like a huge pressure, I think, to kind of maybe buy it and play it. And I think that there's a lot of like pressure to like love the game and to talk about it positively. And I think that there's a lot of negative feedback from folks online if you are critical of a game. People say like, why do you not like this game? Why do you hate fun? And it's like kind of a bummer to hear that, because nobody who criticizes a game, like, we don't hate fun, we love fun, you know, like, I want to have fun when I play games. I love gaming. It's a huge part of my identity. Whenever you hear someone reply to you, why do you hate fun things? Why don't you just like the game? It's like, yeah, I want to more than anything, I just want to love the game. When I buy a $60 game, I want to love it. It sucks when you buy a $60 game and the experience is kind of a letdown, and not everyone, but a lot of folks around you are saying like, hey, the game's awesome, like, why don't you like it? And it's like, well, I really want to, but I also want to talk about why I didn't like it. And I think that's totally valid. It's okay to talk about why you don't like a game, you know, like, that's totally legit. If you are hearing someone who's critical of Arceus, like maybe even me, and you're watching this video and you're like, you know, kind of and you got it this far in the video without quitting out and pressing the dislike simply because I may have a different opinion than you, honestly, respect. It's okay to have different opinions than people in a game. Like, that's totally legit. It would be a really boring world if we all had the same opinions and liked the same things, you know what I mean? And maybe in my case, like, Arceus is simply not for me. Maybe the aspect of collecting Pokemon, checking off those checkboxes, is just really not in and of itself rewarding for me as a gamer, because that's just not the kind of game play loop that I like. And you know what? That's okay, you know? I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're playing Arceus and you're feeling like kind of conflicting feelings and you're afraid to talk about it because everyone is so hyped about the game right now, just talk about it. It's okay. Your feelings and your opinions are legit, and they're alright, and they're valid. And if you're someone who loves Arceus, your feelings and your opinions are valid too. It's okay, you know, whether you love the game, whether you hate the game, whether you're conflicted about it. No matter what, I think that it's important to critically analyze the kind of media and the content that we consume. And I think the thing is, like, Pokemon is gonna sell no matter what. Pokemon's gonna sell regardless of how good or bad it is or what is in the game. I think that's sort of just the nature of it. And I think the nature of how different this game is what is making it so successful. Whether or not different is good is up for you to decide. Please forgive me, as this is my first time ever doing a review or anything like this, so I really don't know what the heck I am doing. And if you made it to the end of the video here, thank you so much, seriously, for supporting. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope that my honest take on the game and my experience in it was valuable for you and helpful for you in deciding whether or not you should get this game. And even if you already have the game or you don't want the game, I hope that listening to the video like kind of helps you, I don't know, just like reflect on your own experiences as a gamer and being critical about the kind of media that we consume. Anyway, I've talked enough. Thank you again so much for watching. Like, I seriously appreciate it so much. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day, whether you're playing Arceus or, you know, whether you're playing Sword Shield or something completely different. Go enjoy your game, have a fun time, and have a good night. That is a flying Gyarados? What the hell? Wait, what? Alright. You know what, that's actually kind of cool. That's actually kind of cool. I kind of like flying Gyarados.